Yes.
Hello and welcome. We are going to be doing a fun, cozy fall painting class here with Kimberly from Spunk and Tenacity. Welcome
Hi.
and thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we got to do this. I'm sorry I had to reschedule, but I'm so excited we're doing this today.
So if you haven't had a chance to download the template, I'm going to go ahead and drop a comment with the link to that. Please tell me where you're joining us from and who you have joining us today.
Yes.
We love being able to give you a shout out.
Yes, for sure. Oops, I didn't hear that. One more time.
It looks like we have 7 people with us live.
Yay, that's so exciting.
Oh, 8. Looks like people are joining in.
Perfect. Well, I am coming from Texas, so I'll say that first. I'm Kim, and I'm here from Texas. So it is sweltering hot down here.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I am in North Idaho right now, and it is just starting to transition into officially wintry days.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
We should swap.
We should, or at least share some. My daughter was waiting yesterday outside because it was over 80. And I thought, oh, for November, this is crazy.
So it looks like we have Azalea joining from Maryland, Alessandro, and someone joining from Wisconsin and Oklahoma. So we've got people from all over.
Perfect. I actually lived in Green Bay for a few years, so I bet our Wisconsin friends are a little chilly too.
And we've got Mark from Georgia as well.
Hi. Welcome down here with me in the southern heat.
And we've got Leslie from New York.
Hi, Leslie.
Haley from North Carolina. Hi.
Hi. I lived in South Carolina for a bit.
So we have 15 people now that have joined us. Drop a emoji in the chat if you guys are ready to get started, if you had a chance to download the template. Hi, Emily. They're from Pacific Coast, Mexico.
Nice. I bet they have lovely weather right now.
Yes.
Nice. Not necessarily fall weather, but lovely weather. All right. You let me know when we are ready to get started. Ask everybody for patience because this is my first Facebook Live. Normally I have time to reset my tech and fix my words and my hair. And so this is you are my guinea pigs this time. So thank you for your patience.
Hi, AJ and Jen. We've got Aria from Southwest Florida joining us as well.
Oh, nice.
Okay, it looks like we've got a lot of emojis in the chat, so I think that we are ready to get started.
Okay, perfect. So I could not figure out how to hook up my desktop. It worked for a minute and then it stopped. So I'm going to flip my phone around so you won't see my face. I'm sorry. Or I don't know, maybe that's better. You can focus on our little bear friend. But I will pop back on after we're done, flip it back around. So sorry about that. I'd rather be here hanging out with you, but instead just get to see a little bear here. So let's see. Everybody can see that. Is he sideways? Or is he right side up?
Let's see. He is sideways.
Let me turn him right side up. Is he right side up now?
Okay. He is right side up now.
All right. Let me see if I can even get a little closer to him. All right. How are we doing? Good. Okay, so I mentioned earlier today in one of my Facebook posts, I have a kiddo who hates to draw, ironically, but she loves to paint. And I keep thinking she's going to outgrow it, but it hasn't happened yet. And so what I end up doing a lot of times for her, because I want art to be enjoyable for her and not be a chore is I end up using templates even though she's older. She's 8, and so we think of templates more for the younger kids, but that's not always the case. They're really good for anybody. You have those hesitant drawers just to get them engaged. And what I do is I tend to like do the full template for her, and then as the year progresses I might do less and less and less of it, but then I let her paint and add the details. So don't shy away from using the templates, even if you have some older kids. That's my mom wisdom for you there. But anyhow, so when we start with our bear, and like I said, a lot of times in my classes I would offer the template, but then I would show freehand for the older students. But since we're on a Facebook Live and maybe a little bit more time crunch today, and we have a wider span of ages, we're just going to trace our template. Okay, so we are just going to go up and around, and I don't worry too much about getting just exact because we're going to go back and paint him in. And all I'm using here is my oil pastel. Now, if you have some older students, they might not prefer the older pastel because they don't like the outlines. But for the younger kids, I think it's really good to have that sharp line so they can kind of have a good stopping point. And then with our templates, we just do our big outline and then we pull it aside. So if you have a kiddo that, like I said, that it doesn't prefer to draw, you can always set it underneath, put it up against a window, and then draw some of the maybe inner pieces for them. My daughter's big hang up is the face. She doesn't like it when her face, and no matter how many times I say it doesn't have to be perfect, she doesn't like it when her face doesn't look the way she thinks it should. So I will usually outline the face for her and then let her do the rest. But once you've outlined your bear, you're going to go back and we're going to do his nose next. And it seems kind of funny, probably, to do a nose next, but it's one of the most defining characteristics of a bear. So we always tend to do what we like that creature's, like for a fox, we might do their tail and their ears first. But for the bear, a lot of people associate them with their cute little nose in the middle. So we'll do that next, and it helps us to create proportionate art for the rest of the drawing. So we're going to do a little triangle, and it's going to be curved. It's all right if it's not, but we do a triangle. He has a little triangle nose right in the middle. We give him a cute little smiley face there. And then we're going to outline that with almost like an egg shape. So we're going to come down with a curved line that goes around the bottom. And then we're going to meet it up at top and a curved line on the bottom. Now, the reason I do that, if we have some kids joining us today, is because it's easier to pull down than it is to push up in the right shape. We are going to go over and give his inner ear a flat line and then a curved line like a rainbow. We're going to do the same thing over here, flat line and then a curved line like a rainbow. And the reason we outline beforehand is so that when we paint, we know where to stop our paints, and then we don't get stressed out, as some of my students do, when the paint has already covered up something they decided later needed to be a different color. So sometimes I get to talking and I get moving pretty fast. So if anybody is yelling slow down, just holler out at me.
You actually just answered a question from Layla. She wanted to know if she could just paint it. And so you just happened to answer the question perfectly. So I'll give a shout out to any comments as we go. So you can focus on the drawing and I'll be manning the comments. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, be sure to put them in the comments and I will give a shout out for you.
Yes, absolutely. And just painting it is 100% what we usually encourage our older students to do. Because like I said, the older students don't necessarily prefer, or even students, they don't necessarily have to be older, but some kids just don't, some students don't like that sharp contrast. For younger ones who are just learning brush control, it really helps. So it just kind of depends on the ability and age and interest of the students. There's really no right or wrong way to do art. So for their little arms, we're going to come down and do the arms next, and we're going to do a U shape. So we're going to do a big U shape. It kind of looks like a mitten, right? So our little bear looks like he's wearing a mitten, and we're going to do a little curve that shows where his arm would be. And we're going to come over and do that on the other side. So we do a U shape over there and coming up. And then we're going to do another inner arm for him there. Okay, connect that to the side. And look, our bear is almost outlined. For his scarf, I'm going to just do a curved line all the way under where his chubby little chin would be. So we're just going to curve around the top of our scarf. And then we're going to do another one that kind of follows the same line. So another curved line down there. And that is the scarf for our bear. The rest of it, his eyes, all of that, we're going to leave until after we've painted. So that is all we do for our initial drawing. And then we're going to move on to painting our background. So to paint our background, you can use really any color you want. I'm making my background blue just because it is one of our favorite colors in my house, and also one of the colors we have the most of. Sorry, my daughter was painting right before class, so I'll make sure I don't have any color on here.
So make sure to clean your brushes before you get started.
Yes, if you happen to have been painting just now, make sure you clean your brushes. And that's actually a good thing to talk about. When we are cleaning our brushes, you want to make sure you touch your brush all the way on the bottom, and then you swirl it around so that all the paint that's in the middle can get out. If you just go up here in the top, it won't get all the paint out from the middle. And that's not always a bad thing, but if your intention is to clean it, that's how you do it. And then, so that I don't splatter paint all over and get in trouble, I just wipe off the edge of my brush there. Okay, so now I am going to pull out a blue. So I have acrylic paints. You can use tempera paints. You could use markers, crayons, whatever you have. So I'm using acrylics, and they're just these regular like craft paints that you can get at Walmart, Target. But you could also use watercolors if you have them. You know, most kids will have the Crayola pan watercolors. You could use those as well. And I'm just going to dab my brush, and then I'm just going to start, and I'm going to start at the top. And when I paint, I'm trying to make sure my bear is still right side up, I like to paint right off the edge. So make sure that you have something underneath so you don't get in trouble. Don't paint on your mom's table. But you want to paint right off the edge, and I try to use the tip of my paintbrush like a ballet dancer. So he's just swishing along. I don't know if you ever saw any brooms in the cartoons where they dance along. That's kind of what I think of. I think of my paintbrush just kind of dancing along, and it gives me a nice smooth coverage. And go back and reload your brush. It takes a few strokes, but as soon as you start seeing some white, you know, you got to go back and get some more. And then one of the most important things you can do is just paint right off the edge so that you cover up all of your art. Another good way to do this, if you don't have something to put underneath of it, is to just use some like masking tape or painter's tape and just tape it down, and then you can paint right on the tape. When I get up close to my art, I start to dab a little bit more gently right along the edge and then pull away. Okay. And if there's, with the parents that are on the call, if you're ever curious, one of my art mentors pointed this out, if you're ever curious about what it feels like to be a kid who's trying to paint, use your non-dominant hand and try and paint, and then see how much control you don't have. I don't know about you, I'm not ambidextrous. When I try to paint with my left hand, it is a mess. And so that's something to keep in mind. Kids just don't, well, especially our little ones, it's just really hard for them to paint, and it can be a little intimidating sometimes when they think that they can't go over the lines. So it's really good if you paint next to them and point out when you've made a mistake and make it say, oh, well. You know, I paint over my lines all the time, and I go, oh, well, you know, the lines are there as a guide, not as a boundary. So don't feel bad if you're going to paint right over them. So I'm going to come down around the side here sometimes I have a hard time talking and painting because I want to use my hands while I'm talking, you know, give my gestures. Then I fling paint around and then I get in
Oh,
trouble.
hi, Susan. Your sister-in-law is here, and she's
Oh, hi,
also
Susan.
she's here to enjoy the class. She says that she really enjoys taking lessons from Spunk and Tenacity.
Aw, thank you. We enjoy when she comes to visit and does art with us very much. Very much so. And in fact, I would say that she's probably a much better artist than I am. She spent 30 years as an educator. And so her pumpkin, last year she did a pumpkin with us, and I was like, wow, that could go on a postcard. Hey, once you got it, you don't lose it. So, all right. We're going to scooch right over here. Now, there's something I was just telling my daughter the other day. When you have a tricky spot, and this one's not so bad, but if you ever have a tricky spot, sometimes we forget that we can flip our artwork upside down. Just because he's not going to get a headache if we tip him upside down for a minute. So if you have a tricky spot on your art that you can't quite get to without getting your hand wet, then just go right ahead and flip them around. All right, so once I've done my background, I'm going to dunk my brush all the way down, swirl it around to wash it off really well. And then I'm gonna, I don't tap so that I don't get any on the carpet. I got my art room got moved back to a room with a carpet, so I have to be a little bit more ginger than I used to be. And then I wanted to show you, oh, actually that's unfortunate. I just used my only water in here. No, I didn't. Look, now I'm talking to myself. My daughter always goes, who are you talking to, Mom? When your paint is a little thick, like I have an older brown here, don't be afraid to put some water in it, even though it's acrylic, and just a little bit to make it more paintable. I'm not sure if that's the precise word I'm looking for, but so it's more spreadable. Okay, so I got some brown in there. And this is one of the things kids love the most is they love to pull. Look at my paint's a little goopy, but you can also just make a brown if you wanted to let your kids mix away. But I like to pool a color, and then while that is still on my brush, I just scoop up another color. Because if you look at animals out in the wild, they're not usually just one tint, right? They'll have different shades within their fur. So I like to paint with a couple different colors sometimes. And honestly, it's one of kids' favorite things is when they get to scoop up different colors and just kind of make a mess on their brush. It also helps if you have we have one of our very best friends, one of my daughter's very best friends, is a beautiful artist. She does really lovely art, but sometimes she struggles a little bit with perfectionism. So she goes very slow. And instead of discouraging that, one of the ways you can kind of encourage, art to maybe not take all day if you have, other subjects you need to teach, is to start teaching them some of these intentional ways to be messy. And it can kind of help combat some of that perfectionism in the art room. So, not to mention, it's just kind of fun to mix colors. So I'm going right around the outside here. Okay, and then down, and we're almost done with our little dude's face here. It's also kind of fun because then when you mix your colors, you're never going to have an artwork that is exactly like anybody else's. Your color is going to be all your own. And that's kind of a nice thing. One thing I like to do if I have some kids who are maybe second grade, and up, maybe not so much the kinders, but second and up, is I like to go back and smooth out our paint. And I do that by just barely kissing the water. So this time I wouldn't touch it all the way down, and I would come back and I would just run it over the top of the paint. And you'll see if you do that, it smooths it out and just kind of gives it a nice finish. Now you don't have to do that. Some kids like the brush strokes, and that's okay. There's no, right or wrong. We're not studying Van Gogh here. Okay, so there's his face. So now I'm going to wash him off, and I'm going to move on to his sweater, which is, I made his sweater red, but you can make his sweater whatever color you want it to be. And I am going to only do his sweater down to the top of his paws. So I like to outline where I need to stop first when I'm doing any section of my art. So I'm going to go right along the top there, get right into the edge. Don't be afraid to grab a smaller brush. Maybe you didn't use the template and your bear turned out to be a little bit smaller. That's okay. And then look, I just painted right over where I want my cup to be. That's okay. If you end up painting over something that you wanted to be light colored, like I made my cup a white color, so I could always make it darker, or I could even paint it on a different piece of paper and then cut it out to put it over top. So there's a couple things you can do when you go maybe paint over something that you weren't intending to. Okay. So I'm going to come down here on the bottom of my sweater, and you'll see I just paint right over the edge. It's okay if you mingle your paints a little bit. It's with acrylic paints, they're not really going to seep into each other. With watercolors, it's a little bit more of a, it creates a little bit different color because they do mingle a little bit more. But with acrylics, it's not a big deal. Okay. And you'll see we're actually really close to being done here. And that is one of the messages at Spunk and Tenacity, is that including art doesn't have to be intimidating. I think a lot of times as homeschool parents, we just have so much on our plates, and we're trying to figure out how to add one more thing in, and we just think of art as being this like super time-consuming thing, and it doesn't have to be. We think poetry, tea times, and studying masters, and that can be a part of it, but it doesn't have to be the only thing. All right, so I'm going to wash this guy off. I'm going to get my brown again to do his little mitten paws. And this time I'm not going to put any orange in, just to give it a little bit different color. So I'm going to go right up there, right to my white. And you'll see this one, because I watered it down, is a little bit more translucent, but that's okay. If I wanted to make it a little bit darker brown, I could always just add some black in, and a little bit lighter, obviously add some white. We often just think about like what we have in front of us instead of what we can make. But hey, we're homeschool parents, right? So we can make art with what we have in front of us and make new colors. Okay, so for our scarf, we're going to keep it.
And downloaded the.
Say again?
If you have downloaded the Cozy Fall Bear template, you are also going to get her fall bundle for free. So I went ahead and dropped the link to that again, so that you guys can make sure that you signed up to get the Fall Bear template for this class. And then also, as a thank you for attending this rescheduled class, you get the fall bundle for free. So tell us a little bit about what's in the fall bundle.
So our fall bundle, actually, I can show you here in a minute. So we have I lost my train of thought right in the middle. We have a watercolor fox. We have an acrylic owl on a canvas. We have a sweater-wearing sausage dog. That's what we call it. We have a cozy camper for all of our friends who like to camp. We have a hedgehog, a cute, chubby little scarf-wearing hedgehog that we made texture with our acrylic paint and a plastic fork. So I can give you a little tour of those here in just one moment. They're all, thank goodness, they're hanging on the wall behind me because I was like, wait, I don't know. We started painting for winter. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, let me think back. Okay. So now that my sweater is a little bit dry, oh, I don't know if you hear my puppy in the background there going berserk. Um, my husband's been on a work trip out of town, so he might have arrived home. I was like, is there a chance you could just like sit at McDonald's until my class is over? No, not really, but sort of. All right, let's see. I have, yes, I hear them. So there's a little commotion going out there, so sorry. I am going to take my orange and my yellow, and instead of just like painting it in, I'm just going to stripe it. So let's see. So I'm just going to go along, and I'm not going to alternate. I'm just going to use what's on my brush so I don't have to keep cleaning it off. And I'm just going to make some stripes. Of course, you can make any sort of pattern you want. And this is a good time to talk to your kids, if you want to, about pattern. Sometimes we think the elements of art are intimidating, or they have to be like this full lesson, and they don't. We really try to work in the elements of art in just really subtle ways like this, especially for our younger students, where we say, look, we're making a pattern, and see it's repeating colors, and then say, what other ideas do you have for a pattern? What could you do? You could do dots, you could do zigzags, you could do, 3 colors. How could you make a pattern here? And then we encourage them to kind of branch out on their own and explore. So that's kind of my philosophy on a guided drawing, is that if we show them first and then let them explore afterwards, once we've shown them the possibilities. All right, I'm going to take my white, and this is kind of funny. Some of the kids are like, why am I painting white when it's already white? But you know why? Because if you look, it just makes it look polished. So we're going to take our white, we're going to go around our bear here, and then we're giving him a little white nose, but I like to dab just a teeny tiny bit of like an orange maybe right on the edge, and then add it in just to give him a little bit of color on his nose, because he probably got into some honey or something. Okay, so there's that. We're gonna take, oh, and I forgot all about this cup down here
now. So if you guys haven't had a chance to download the template for this class, there's a link in the comments that you can be able to go and grab that. You also get access to her fall bundle, which is a bunch of other really fun activities. So I highly recommend that you sign up for that. And let us know in the comments if you're watching this on the replay or if you're joining us live.
So I was going to ask, if they've signed up for it, they can catch the replay and just watch the whole lesson, correct?
Yes, it's going to be up on our YouTube channel, and I did drop a link in the comments to that. There is going to be a recording available on our YouTube channel.
Nice. Okay, so I'm doing like a curved top here, and you'll see I did not outline this. So, and if you remember, I accidentally painted red where I wanted there to be white, but that's okay. And then I'm making a curved bottom to this. Something fun we're doing in our winter bundle that isn't out yet is we're doing a Santa mug, and we're doing some puffy paint to do his beard. So it's just going to be, which you can actually do with just about anything. My daughter's gone puffy paint crazy. But you mix, you mix, she was like, oh, we should make it red and purple and blue. And I was like, whoa. But it's just half shaving cream, not shaving gel, but shaving cream. And I know a lot of us might have already done this, but you mix half shaving cream and half paint, and it'll make it puff. It'll dry out and puff up. So we're doing that for one of our winter projects that we're pretty excited about. All right, so now you'll see I have to go back. I don't have to, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to color in. And I wouldn't be able to do this if you're using watercolors. You need to wait for sure until they dry. but you go in and color in around there. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to, ooh, I got to grab some black. I don't think I pulled my black out. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Here I thought I was all prepared, and then it turns out I wasn't.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. I went ahead and replied with a link to where you can download the template.
Hi, Sarah. All right. So I got a little bit of black, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to color in his nose. You could always do this with a crayon if you don't have black paint, or that same oil pastel that you might have used earlier. But I like to go back over all of my little areas. And then what I like to do is like to ask the kids, like, okay, we're almost done. What do you think he might be missing? And usually they go, he's got no eyes. And I say, you know what, you're right. But I think that so I'm making his eyes just little lines. He's just enjoying his little cup of hot cocoa or pumpkin spice so much. He's like, he's got his eyes closed. A lot of times in our classes, and granted, I do a lot of them pre-recorded, but we'll read a book first that kind of relates. So like if we were doing this one, we might read, I don't know if any of you have ever read any of the bear books, but Bear and His Friends, Mole and Wren and Badger, those are some of our favorite books. So we might read one of those, but just something that kind of might relate a little bit. So now I'm just going to go back and I'm going to kind of add some black paint in here just because it makes it, my brush is a little wet, I just think it makes it pop a little bit and gives a little bit of maturity to the drawing that a lot of the kids like when you use some black on top, because it doesn't look quite like the oil pastel. In terms of the oil pastel, you can see was definitely a template, but when you paint over the edges with the black, it definitely makes it look like I think brings the artwork to a new level for the kids often. But of course, it's an optional step. I always tell them, you get to decide when your art is done. Sometimes we'll come along and we'll add in some leaves or some snowflakes maybe into the background. One of my daughter's favorite things to do, it's one of the messiest things to do, is we like to splatter some paint. So if you don't want your kids to splatter, cover their ears. But if you wet down your water wet down your white until it's about the consistency of like a heavy cream, and then just kind of flick it around. We do it outside in the yard, not right in front of the door, because my husband got a little upset that we were painting our grass right in front of the front door. So we do it in the side yard now. And then you can make it look like it snowed. So that's pretty fun. And then let's see if our white is dry enough to draw this pumpkin. I think it is. So this would be a good time maybe to read a story or something. If you have something that needs to get layered, it's a good time to grab a snack. It's always a good time to grab a snack, right? But it's a good time to step away for a few minutes, or you can always use a hair dryer if you want to take a few minutes to dry in between layers. But now we're going to take our pumpkin, and I'm going to start with my orange, and my pumpkin is going to be, I like to draw him like a C and then like a backwards C. So he's going to be just the outside shape. So I'm going to give him a C, and he's going to run into this hand. So I'm going to boop over. I don't think that's a technical term, but I booped over him. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. And now that I've done his outside, I can do his inside. And I like to take my brush and kind of keep it in the direction. If you think of a pumpkin, it has those sections in it and they curve down. So I like to bring my paint down because it just helps to give my pumpkin his shape. You'll see my brush was a little wet. So you see how my paint is almost a little bit more see-through than I might like it to be, and that's okay. I should have dried it off a little bit. Let's see. Okay. And go back and even add a little bit more in there to give them a little bit more color. I'm gonna wash off my brush. I'm gonna give my pumpkin, I'm actually gonna pull out my smaller brush. Our puppy ate my smallest brush, honestly, the other day. So now I'm using my next smallest brush. And I'm going to give him a stem. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, or it can be as fancy as you want it to be. Okay. You can see this brush has seen better days. There we go. I like to give my cup a little bit of character. I think it's kind of fun when you start experimenting with your paint and just adding a little bit of detail. I don't even want to call it detail, but just a little bit of highlights. And you can mix it right on there. But it also adds some unity into your picture, because see how we use that color over here? So it's nice when you pull that color back in again later. Now that I forgot to outline this guy right up here. I'm gonna go back and do that. And then last thing I'm gonna do, and honestly, my pumpkin might be a little wet for this, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna outline some of his sections. And let's see, give him a couple fingers or some, there you go. What do you think? That is our bear. So let me see if I can turn this right side up. Oh, I'm upside down now. Where am I? Ha, there we go. So there's our bear. What do you think? I hope you enjoy painting with us, with me. I hope you had a good time. If you have any questions, if I went too fast, I apologize. Thanks for hanging out for my first Facebook Live. So I think all of us, we get a little fast when we're nervous, right? So, your head driven.
Layla says that she loves yours. Michelle says that yours is super cute. Susan says, cute, good job. So people love your little bear. And I'm encouraging them to share a photo of their painting in the comments or in the group once it is done. Drawing.
Yes, absolutely. And then I will show you. Hold on, I cannot get out to my camera on this, so I'm just going to hold it like this. I'm really more tech smart than it looks like I am. But so for our fall bundle, we are doing, so we have this cute little painted fairy pumpkin house. This is not the fall bundle, that's the winter bundle. Let's see, this is part of the fall bundle. So we have this little acrylic owl. We did a pumpkin, let's see where mine is. That's my daughter, so it's a little bit less easy to understand. But we did a pumpkin life cycle. And then these are all linked on the page, so you can just link out to the different videos. These are pre-recorded, so you can do them when you have the time. We did, let's see, we have this sausage dog up here. We have, I hope you can see it, that fox. And then we did, one of my very favorites is this chubby little hedgehog. And then we have done this cozy little camper. So a lot of fun stuff in our fall bundle.
So Leila was wondering when the next lesson is going to be for painting. And so I dropped a link to RSVP for the Merry Reindeer art class that is going to be on December 6th. We're going to do that at 2 p.m. PST. It will automatically convert to your time zone when you click on the link. So if you're in a different time zone, you'll get the time there. And I highly encourage you guys to go check out Spunk and Tenacity. She has online kids art lessons. Kind of like tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, and I'll give you a quick sneak peek. Again, I wish I could figure out how to turn my camera around, and maybe I'll figure that out before the next lesson. But this is what we're doing for the next art lesson. So we are doing a reindeer. He's kind of a little bit of a folk art reindeer. So this is what my daughter was painting today. And he is based on, I don't know if you guys have read this, but one of our very favorite books is called, look at me, I'm like, how do I get in the picture? Last Stop on the Reindeer Express. It is a beautiful book. If you haven't had the chance, I highly encourage you to go to the library and check it out now before there's a run on it. But over at Spunk and Tenacity, I really wanted to create an art resource for homeschool parents who had younger students that encouraged parents to do art with their kids, made it really not intimidating, made it easy with what you have at home. We do introduce some different things that some kids who are really engaged in art might enjoy. Like sometimes I'll pull out paint markers or I'll pull out like liquid watercolors, but at any time, all of those projects would work with really simple art, supplies as well. So it's about making art affordable, accessible. And then we have lessons that start at, if you do the annual membership, it's $10 a lesson, or $10 a month, I'm sorry. So the whole goal was really to make art just fun and not intimidating, just something easily added in, because we're homeschool moms, we're busy, right? Like we have a ton of things on our plate. And even though I love art and my daughter loves art, it's something that's easy to like push aside. I think, we'll get to that. We'll get to that because we got to do math. The state says I have to do math. We got to do language arts. But I really encourage everybody to just sit down and connect with their kids and do art along with them. So.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kim, and we really look forward to the next lesson. We're going to be doing several lessons with Kim here from Spunk and Tenacity, so be sure to check the schedule as we add more fun art classes in the next coming months.
Yes, and there might even be some prizes for anybody who shows up for all of them. Maybe we'll have to figure out a punch card or something.
Oh yes, that would be super fun.
That would be fun, wouldn't it? We'll do like an art path. So,
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Bye.